I feel like I'm going crazy trying to figure out what's wrong with my mom lately and whether I'm being unreasonable about our living situation. She's been making all these weird comments about me needing to plan for independence even though I literally own the house we live in and pay for everything. Am I the idiot for being confused and frustrated when she keeps acting like I'm some freeloader who needs to grow up? Okay, so for some background. So I, female, 27, inherited my grandmother's house and about $200 when she passed away 2 years ago. It was really hard because she basically raised me after my dad left when I was little, and she was like my best friend. Anyway, my mom, female, 52, was going through a rough patch at the time. Job loss, some relationship problems, the usual. So when she asked if she could move in temporarily while she figured things out, I said of course. I mean, it's a big house and I was still grieving, and honestly, the company was nice. Here's where it gets weird though. My mom has been living here for 2 years now. She contributes like $400 a month toward groceries and acts like we're splitting everything equally. But I'm paying the $1,400 mortgage, all utilities, property taxes, home insurance, and probably 60% of the groceries anyway. I work as a nurse making about $35, so it's not like I'm rolling in money, but I'm careful with the inheritance and only use it for house maintenance and emergency stuff. The rest I've been putting in savings because that's what my grandmother would have wanted. But lately, like the past few months, my mom has been acting so strange. She joined this book club and goes out Tuesday and Thursday nights, but she's been coming home later and later. Like, what book club goes until 10 p.m. on a weeknight? And she's been dressing up for it too. New makeup, jewelry, clothes she definitely can't afford if money is as tight as she claims. The really weird part started last week. I came home from work and she was in the kitchen cooking dinner in this dress I'd never seen before. Full makeup, the works. I complimented her and asked if she was heading to book club after dinner, and she got all defensive and said she could dress nice without needing a reason. Which, okay, fair enough, but it was such a weird response. Like I was just making conversation. Then during dinner, she started saying all this stuff about how some people think it's not normal for adult children to inherit houses and just live in them. She mentioned how one of her book club friends has a daughter who sold her inherited property and moved somewhere new to start fresh. Then she suggested I should think about exploring my options instead of just staying in grandmother's house. I was like, what options? This is my house. I love this house. It's where I grew up spending summers, where grandmother taught me to cook, where all my best memories are. Why would I sell it? But then she said something that really bothered me. She asked if I'd thought about what I'd do if I had to handle all the house expenses alone, which is insane because I already handle all the house expenses alone. Her $400 doesn't even cover half the grocery bill most months. I still sleep with my grandmother's quilt, and sometimes I talk to her photo when I'm stressed. Yeah, I know that sounds weird, but whatever. Grief is weird. My mom used to think it was sweet, but now she's been calling it unhealthy and saying I need to move forward. The whole thing is just making me feel really weird. Like my mom moved in here because she needed help. I've been basically supporting both of us financially, and now she's acting like I'm the one who needs to get my life together. Am I overthinking this, or is this as weird as it seems to me? Now for the first update. I came home to boxes everywhere, and honestly, I think my mom has lost her mind. So remember how I posted about my mom, female, 52, acting weird and making comments about me needing to plan for independence even though I literally own the house? Well, you guys were right that something was going on. I just didn't expect this. I had a dental appointment yesterday, so I got off work early, around 2 p.m. instead of my usual 6. I walk into my house and there's my mom sitting on the living room floor, surrounded by boxes and bubble wrap. Like, lots of boxes. I'm talking maybe 15 to 20 boxes scattered around our living room. My first thought was honestly that someone had died or something, because why else would she be packing without telling me? So I asked what was happening, and she gets this weird, guilty look and tells me she was going to talk to me about this tonight over dinner. Turns out, she put a deposit down on some apartment across town. She's planning to move out next month, without discussing it with me at all. I mean, I guess she doesn't owe me a discussion since she's an adult, but we've been living together for 2 years and she's never even mentioned wanting to move out. Like, not once. If anything, she's been acting like this living situation was working great for both of us. So I asked how she could afford a deposit when she's been telling me for months that money is tight, hence the measly $400 contribution. She gets all flustered and starts explaining that this guy Dave helped her with his real estate connections and co-signed the lease because he has good credit from his business. Wait, who the hell is Dave? But before I could ask about that, something way worse hit me. I realized that if she moves out, I'd be losing her $400 monthly grocery contribution. And even though that doesn't cover half our food costs, every bit helps when you're stretching a $35K salary to cover a $1,400 mortgage plus all the other house expenses. I tried to explain this to her and she just stared at me, like I was speaking a foreign language. Finally, she tells me that I inherited money and I'm rich now. Rich. I wanted to scream. Yes, I inherited about $200, but that money is sitting in savings for emergencies and house maintenance, and maybe eventually grad school. It's not like income. I can't just spend inheritance money on monthly bills because then it'll be gone and I'll have nothing left. She genuinely looked shocked when I explained this. Like it had never occurred to her that having money in the bank doesn't mean you can just spend it on everything. She admitted she told this Dave person that I had inherited a house and lots of money without understanding the difference between having savings and being able to afford everything. The whole time we're having this conversation, her phone keeps buzzing, like every 30 seconds. Buzz, buzz, buzz. And each time she'd glance at it and seem distracted. Finally, I asked if everything was okay because the constant notifications were driving me crazy. That's when she admits she's been seeing someone, this Dave guy, for 6 weeks. 6 weeks. And she didn't want to make it weird by introducing him too soon. But here's the thing. She's been telling me she was going to book club on Tuesday and Thursday nights. I asked why she lied about book club, and she got all embarrassed and said she was ashamed about meeting someone at a coffee shop, like some desperate woman. Apparently she met Dave at the coffee shop next to the library, not in any book club. Right then Dave calls her. Perfect timing. She takes the call in the kitchen, but I can hear her talking in these hushed tones about the conversation going well, and she's understanding the situation. What situation? What is there to understand? I'm so confused. After she hung up, I asked her to please explain what's actually going on because none of this makes sense. She said Dave thinks it would be healthy for both of us to have our own spaces and that I should learn to be more independent. Independent. I own the house. I pay all the bills. I've been basically supporting her for 2 years. How is that not independent? But she just kept saying that Dave has experience with these kinds of things and that sometimes adult children get too comfortable relying on their parents, relying on her. For what? The $400 a month that doesn't even cover half our grocery bill. I don't know what to think. Part of me is hurt that she wants to move out without discussing it. Part of me is terrified about affording this house alone. But honestly, the biggest part is just confused. Like nothing she's saying makes any sense. My friend Emma drives by the library for work sometimes, and I asked her yesterday if she'd ever seen my mom's car there on Tuesday or Thursday nights. She said no, never. But she has seen her multiple times at the coffee shop next door with some older guy. So that confirms the book club was definitely a lie. And why is she making all these major decisions based on what some guy she's known for 6 weeks thinks? She hasn't made the best choices with men in the past. Hello, my dad lasted all of 3 weeks as a husband, but this feels different. Like he's got specific opinions about our living situation after barely knowing us. I don't know. Maybe I'm overthinking this. Maybe she really does just want her own space and this Dave guy is just encouraging her to go for it. Her comments about me needing independence and the way she completely misunderstood my financial situation are still bothering me though. What would you guys do? Am I being unreasonable for feeling confused about all this? Edit 1. Since people are asking, no, she hasn't paid anything toward the mortgage ever. When she moved in, she said the $400 for groceries was her contribution and that we were both saving money by living together. I never really questioned it because I could afford everything, and she seemed like she was struggling. Edit 2. Yes, I'm going to have to ask her directly about this Dave guy and what exactly he knows about our situation. I keep avoiding it because I don't want to seem controlling or jealous, but you're right that I deserve to know what's going on in my own house. Edit 3. To those saying I should be happy she's finally moving out, honestly, part of me is relieved. Like maybe having my own space again would be nice, but I can't afford this house alone, and she knows that. It feels like she's just abandoning me without caring about the consequences. Now for the second update. Update. I think my mom just tried to scam me out of my inheritance with some random guy. Thank you to everyone who told me to pay attention to the red flags. You were so right, and I feel like an idiot for not seeing this coming. So yesterday around 4 p.m., I'm sitting at the kitchen table trying to figure out my budget for next month. I'd taken a half day to process everything that had happened and work on finances since Mom's moving out and taking her $400 grocery contribution with her, when I hear the front door open, which is weird because Mom was at work until 6. I call out asking if it's her, and this male voice goes, "It's just me. Just me." Who the hell is just me in my house? I go to the living room, and there's this guy I've never seen before just standing there. Tall, maybe mid-50s, wearing a polo shirt and khakis. He's got keys in his hand, and when he sees my face, he goes, "Oh, you must be the daughter. I'm Dave." The Dave. The guy my mom's been seeing for 6 weeks, who apparently has opinions about my life. I asked him how he got in, and he holds up the keys like it's totally normal. Says Mom gave him a set 2 weeks ago when they started planning her move. 2 weeks ago. She gave a stranger I've never met keys to my house 2 weeks ago and didn't think to mention it. But here's the really messed up part. Instead of apologizing for barging in, he immediately starts talking about my mom being concerned about some dependency issue. He said it wasn't healthy for adults my age to be so attached to their childhood home, and that most people my age are out there making their own way. Making my own way. I work full-time as a nurse and own a house at 27. How is that not making my own way? Then he starts talking about local real estate values. Says he's looked up comparable sales in our neighborhood through his real estate database. Apparently he works in property management or something. When I asked why he was researching my house, he says he wanted to help Mom understand her options since she mentioned wanting to help me make better financial decisions. Help me make better financial decisions. About my house that I inherited from my grandmother. I think I just stared at him for like 30 seconds because none of this made any sense. Mom gets home around 6:30 and acts like it's totally normal that Dave is there. She even seems surprised that I seem upset about it. The whole evening was just weird. Dave kept making these comments about how young people today don't understand real estate investment and how I should consider what my grandmother would have wanted me to do with the inheritance. Like he knew her, like he had any right to have opinions about what she would have wanted. But I was so confused and caught off guard that I didn't really push back. I just kept thinking, this can't be real. Well, today it got so much worse. Mom called me at work around 1 p.m. saying I needed to come home because there was something important we needed to discuss. Her voice sounded weird, like nervous or guilty, so I told my supervisor I had a family emergency and left early. I get home, and Mom's sitting in the living room with some guy I've never seen before. Different guy from Dave. This one looks maybe late 40s, kind of scruffy, and he keeps checking his phone like he wants to be anywhere else. Mom introduces him as someone who needs to talk to me about my dad. My dad. The guy who left when I was little and never came back. The man starts explaining that he lived in our town 25 years ago and dated my mom briefly. Says he's been looking for me for years and finally tracked us down through Dave, who posted on social media asking for information about my father. Wait, what? Dave posted about my father on social media. Why would he do that? But before I could ask about that, the guy tells me he thinks he might be my biological father, and he's heard I inherited some money that rightfully belongs to him too. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Not because I thought this guy might be my dad. Honestly, he didn't look anything like me, and something felt wrong. But because, who the hell told him about my inheritance? I asked him how he knew about the money, and he gets all flustered and says Dave mentioned it when they were discussing the situation. Then I asked how Dave knew the amount, and Mom gets this guilty look and says she might have mentioned some details, about my inheritance, to a guy she's known for 6 weeks. That's when I got really angry. I told both of them that I wasn't discussing anything financial until we had a DNA test. The guy immediately starts backtracking, saying tests are expensive and take weeks, and maybe we could just work out something fair without all the legal stuff. Legal stuff. We're talking about potentially my father, and he's worried about legal stuff. Then Dave shows up, perfect timing. He tries to play peacemaker, suggesting we could work out a fair split of the inheritance without involving courts or complicated processes. Says family should take care of family regardless of paperwork. That's when something clicked. I asked Dave how he knew the exact amount of my inheritance. He gets this deer in headlights look and says, Mom mentioned I'd inherited some money. but I never told Mom the exact amount. I've been really private about the specifics because I didn't want her to think I was rich or anything. So I asked Mom directly what she told him. She admits she didn't know the exact amount, but Dave had asked her about it and seemed to already know a lot of details about the house value and probate records. Probate records are public. Anyone can look them up if they know where to look. The guy claiming to be my dad starts getting really upset, keeps checking his phone, and finally admits he's not actually sure he's my father, but he really needs the $500 Dave promised him for this meeting. $500. Dave was paying this guy to pretend to be my father. I completely lost it. Started yelling that this was fraud, and I was calling the police. The fake dad practically runs out of the house. Dave starts trying to calm me down, saying it was just a misunderstanding and maybe we could all sit down and talk through this rationally. I told him to get out of my house and give me back the keys. Now. After they left, Mom just broke down crying. Admits that Dave has known details about my inheritance since their first week of dating. Details she didn't even know, which means he researched everything before he even met her. I think my mom's boyfriend was targeting her specifically because of my inheritance, and she almost fell for it. I don't even know how to process this. I keep thinking about all those comments about me needing independence and selling the house. Was that all part of some plan to get me to sell so they could get their hands on the money? Mom's locked herself in her room and won't come out. I can hear her crying, but honestly, I'm too angry and hurt to comfort her right now. What kind of person does this? What kind of person researches someone's dead grandmother's will and then manipulates their grieving daughter into a fake relationship? I feel so stupid for not seeing this coming. You guys were right about the red flags and I should have listened sooner. Edit. Since so many people are asking, yes, I'm changing the locks tomorrow. I already called a locksmith and they can come first thing Monday morning. I'm also going to look into getting a security system because this whole thing has me really freaked out. For those asking if I've called the police, I'm thinking about it, but I'm not sure what exactly I'd report. The guy admitted he wasn't my father, so technically no crime was committed. I might call the non-emergency line tomorrow just to ask what my options are. Mom is still in her room, but I can hear her on the phone. Pretty sure she's talking to Dave, which honestly makes me even more angry. Like, how can she still be in contact with him after what just happened? I keep going back and forth between being furious at her and feeling bad for her. I think she genuinely got manipulated, but at the same time, she gave him keys to my house and told him details about my inheritance without asking me. That's not okay, regardless of whether she was being manipulated or not.